give you an example, our daughter, she never knew when to eat or drink. Her senses, her threshold was very high. The threshold in neurology is how much neurons or stimulus it takes that nerve to fire. So you can have a low threshold, like I'm saying right now, my threshold is low and I'm a little excited. When I go home, it might be higher. So that's the basis of it. We try to retrain kids then as best we can by putting them through a number of sensory activities like swings, vestibular system, but it's a totality because the vestibular system can also affect your balance. You also get in your ear, and it keeps you balanced. So we spin the kids, you know, we were fortunate, maybe I was, we had merry-go-rounds that gave us that as children developing. And then they decided they were dangerous and we took them off of playgrounds. So they're not getting that. So we provide some of that and other things. And I guess, anything else you think I should say?
That example that Bill gave about our daughter, it's called registration. You might hear people mention it, you won't know quite what they're talking about. And that is getting the sensory information from your environment, and this is a real issue too in school, of knowing exactly what's expected. And so her nervous system didn't give her cues about her body. And a lot of our kids with autism don't get those cues about I'm supposed to listen, I'm supposed to be able to sit when it's hard, you know, those kinds of things. Well, with occupational therapy, the best moment of my life, like the other mom was talking about, is we were in church together, it was quiet, and she said, she was 8 years old, she said, my tummy hurts, Mommy. And this is somebody who was not able to identify what was going on. And so I said, oh, do you feel like you're going to throw up? Do we need to leave? And she said, no, Mommy, I'm just hungry. And I was like, you could tell me. You were able to figure that out. So her nervous system was able to register those things. And those things are pretty important because the meltdown happens. I'm working with a student right now, a little one, and going out to a store and not being in the cart or stroller is so upsetting to her because it's just too much space, it's too much information. Over time, with strategies, like having something in her hand or having some headphones on, will help her nervous system to tolerate that. And sometimes the nervous system becomes integrated and sometimes it's about using other strategies. Kids can tolerate the lunchroom because it's a sensory experience of eating and they're having the smells. Another person, that makes it just impossible. So it's very individualized. But the good news is people with autism grow and change and their nervous systems change. And it's very exciting. It's really fun to see. We're glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kim Smalling. I work at the Rapid Coast Regional Center. So you have two systems here. Here down are people who will serve you or your child while they're in school, so ages 3 to 21. And Susan and I myself are the regional center systems of two separate funding sources that serve families and people with disabilities. You've heard both of the parents so far, and Brian actually mentioned the Rapid Coast Regional Center. We have a little table over there if you want some information. I have 3 jobs at the Regional Center. I'm the autism specialist. I'm the behavior analyst. Not everybody with autism has behavioral needs or behavioral challenges, and not everybody with behavioral needs or behavioral challenges has autism. There's definitely a bit of an overlap. You heard Brian say earlier that behavior is anything, right? Vacuuming is a behavior. I'm standing here talking, that's a behavior. So a lot of the people that we serve need to learn skills, new skills. And agencies like Brian's are funded through the regional center and through school systems to serve your children in a variety of different environments. If you're lucky enough to live in California, you have services from birth through death through the regional center. It's a lifelong service. In other states, that's not necessarily true. Most states only serve kids once they exit school, so 21 and up. And I always like to give the worst example because no matter how challenging it might be, know that you're in a much better situation. In Texas, when you graduate from school at age 21, you have a 13-year wait list for services. So you exit school, and then 13 years later, somebody from the regional center-like system shows up and says, "Hi, I'm your social worker." For the two moms who spoke earlier, and anybody else who had a similar experience, I apologize. You should not have left the regional center feeling with not enough information and nowhere to go forward. My card is over there. Please take it. Those of you who are new to the regional center may have met Dr. Rick Blumberg. He had this position until very recently, where he had the nerve to be promoted. He's now our executive director. I'm covering 4 counties: Humboldt, Del Norte, Lake, and Mendo. And that means I'm only down here probably once a month. And when I'm down here, I'm probably helping to put out fires. So that often means the school doesn't like to see me come. It hurts my feelings. I'm really very helpful. But I am available to each and every one of you. So feel free to take my card. I'm repulsive about email. I'll answer any question anytime ever. I will come to your IDP. I will come to your IEP. I will serve you in whichever way you need it. From the whole street. It's all right.
I'm talking about that you guys want to hear me. And Kim actually has another job. She does a very good job of training us. So I'm Suzanne Starkey. I'm the Finance Services Manager for the Lakeport office for Redwood Coast Regional Center. I started out many moons ago doing direct care with adults, and when had kids, got married, had kids, went back to school with my kids, and came back to this area in order to work for the regional center. That's what I wanted to do. So I was a service coordinator first, and moved into a supervisory position here in the Lakeport office, which I'm very happy about, and also just wanted to cry when I heard the other two parents mention how difficult it was for them. So I really want to spend some time with the two of you, if that's still fine. Don't think it's on the spot, but I'd like to really hear in depth how we can change our approach. Because it doesn't sound like it's working very well. I have a child of my own who's on the spectrum, and a lot of the struggles that I heard today we've been through. He is now going into the Navy. So it does get better, it does change with help, with intervention, and with us being willing to hear what you guys need from us, which I would love to hear from everybody in this room about what you need from us.
So our role here was to get any questions you may have with regard to any school services that you're not sure of. Again, with regional center, if your child is not a client of regional center, what is that process? So this is your time to ask any of those unanswered questions. We're not in an IEP meeting, so we don't need to be intimidated by that process, which we all know can be. And I'm going to bring this back over to Brian, because I'm sure Brian will have more things to say.
Will we answer that question? This question is about diets and what kinds of diets to try with people with autism. I've been doing this since 1999. I've heard about lots of different diets. I personally have not had a client who's had a great success or a great big change due to diet, but I also understand that there are people who have had wonderful success. So I would think that this is better answered by a nutritionist or someone who has a lot of experience with supplements, and I would ask for some testimonials of people who have had results, because some of this is a real sacrifice to a family. And I always say, listen, any parent with a child with special needs is going to try anything. So that's the way we are. And but if you don't see results within a specific amount
time, over time, then I would definitely want to rethink that. And move on to the next thing you're going to try, because we do.
Are there any questions? Yes.
What's the biggest advice you would give to parents that are just starting the IEP process?
Invite me to attend. I attend many IEP meetings. The biggest thing about the IEPs is you're the most important person there. You know your child and you know what your child's strengths are. So don't be intimidated by the process. The staff, the SLED staff, no matter what district, we truly are here to support you and your child. Otherwise, we would not be doing what we want to do. But I do, as a self person, I do attend, from the county perspective, I do attend many IEPs that a parent invites me to. I know all the districts and I know all the staff member. I work with all of them. So if you're uncomfortable or intimidated, please invite me, and then we bridge that friendliness so that it's not as intimidating for you.
The other thing that I think is really important is it's up to the parents to decide who they want at the IEP meeting. So invite your person from the regional center, invite
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, okay. So inviting, it's up to the parent to invite who they wish.
I need microphone, but anyway, that's okay. I'm pretty loud on my own, but anyway, to invite people that you want there, to invite your team that you're working with at home, make sure your team from school is there, because the more we collaborate, the better it is. I would never want someone to feel I wasn't happy an advocate was there. That's not, I don't know of any of us who feel like that, and I'm sorry that you've gotten that feeling.
In case you didn't know, it's actually part of your service coordinator's job at the regional center, in their job description, to help you advocate for your child in schools. So if you don't have a relationship with your service coordinator, make one. If it's not working for you, talk to the supervisor. But your service coordinator will go with you to your IP if you want them to. I mentioned that I had several jobs at the regional center. The other hat I wear is that every regional center is required to have someone who knows something about special ed law. And so that happens to be me as well. I also attend IEPs. Unfortunately, typically after something's gone wrong, but feel free to invite me to nice, happy ones, because I would love to go to those.
I just wanted to add one more thing here. As a teacher, I believe that the parent is the largest stakeholder in their child's life, other than the child with autism when they become an adult. So therefore, read your rights. When you come to your initial meeting, if you have any questions, write them down. Because it is intimidating. It's intimidating to meet someone on a table with 8 people, especially when you haven't met them before, you don't know them. And you're talking about something very important here. Bring who you think can contribute to that meeting. If you're working with, like Brian here, bring somebody from them with you, or bring somebody from Redwood Regional Coast. If you have an advocate that you feel could help you, somebody that's had experience with this sort of thing, bring them with you and have your questions there. If you get through with the meeting and you feel like you have more questions and you're not quite sure about something that you don't understand, ask for clarification. If you feel that your needs or that what is being offered may or may not meet the needs, then ask to continue the meeting so that everybody can bring their evidence in and show what's needed so that you make sure that you get your child in the best possible environment, the best possible placement. Always remember, because I heard some real warriors up here, warriors, about autism, and I love that because it's so true. When we get involved in this, we can make a difference, and then we're happy. One of the things that I firmly believe in is the team around the child, which is multidisciplinary collaboration. I talk to my people that I work with on a regular basis. I'll stop Bill and we'll chat about sensory issues, or I'll stop Jennifer and we'll talk about communication issues, because I believe having strong coherence between the team, including the parents. When my parents